Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Spyro Reignited Trilogy, the bonus video. So this is being done in between Spyro 2 and Spyro 3, mostly to take care of some lingering issues, or lingering elements with the other two Spyro games. Yes, I said the other two, because if you watch the Spyro 2 portion of the Let's Play, you will remember that there were two levels in Spyro 2 that I omitted because of time relevancy. And in the original Spyro, well, here's the story about that. So, the original Spyro has 6 flight levels, right? I wound up doing 5 of them on screen. One of them, I showed off how to get to, which I think is the most important part. But what I did not intend to do was accidentally skip it, not realize I skipped it for like 4 episodes, and at that point I'm like, okay, I need to go back and do it off screen and just keep moving forward. But since I knew I was going to have to do a bonus video for Spyro 2 with the 2 levels, I figured, why not throw in the missing flight level here? So before we do the 2 levels in Spyro 2, we're going to go back to Spyro 1 and do Sunny Flight, the flight level that I missed the first time around. So, I already showed off how to unlock it and how to reach it, but we're going to go back and we're going to show it off. Why not? Alright, so welcome to Sunny Flight proper. Now, while this is the first flight level chronologically, this may not be the first one you do because it's kind of hidden behind the waterfall, and in-game, you don't get an acknowledgement of that until almost the end of Magic Crackers. In Wizard Peak, one of the last dragons you rescue mentions how to do the waterfalls trick to unlock Sunny Flight. As a result, this isn't the easiest flight level in the game. I would still say Icy Flight is the easiest, but I'm going to assume since Insomniac, who made the original Spyro games, when they did this, they factored in the fact that some people may not be playing this as their first flight level. So it's probably a little bit more difficult than you would think. Still fairly simple once you figure out the pattern, but figuring out the pattern can be some trial and error. So there are arches, there are treasure chests, and planes, and there's trains, but what you want to go for with the trains are the barrels that are in the cargo, basically. All that stuff. And interestingly, when you come back to a flight level in Spyro 1, or any speedway in the trilogy, really, when you redo the obstacle course, you won't have to worry about timing out, thankfully. There will be a timer on the upper right, and you're basically just setting your best time on the level, as it were. You don't have to worry about getting all of the objects in a certain time because, well, you'll eventually get them all. So it's nice to be able to do this for the bonus video and not have to worry about the stress of redoing the level for you guys over and over. Especially as we move on to Spyro 2, where we're going to show off Mystic Marsh and Robotica Farms, the 2 levels I had to cut out from the Let's Play, sadly. So we're done. We're finally done with our business with Spyro 1. We're going to boot out of here and head back to Spyro 2. We're going to go directly to Mystic Marsh first, which is the first level portal you see in Winter Tundra, and I showed off where it is, so hopefully you won't need a refresher, but if you do, well, you can look up the Let's Play or the Speed Play. Alright, so welcome to Mystic Marsh. Aesthetically, one of the more interesting levels in Spyro 2, I'll give it that much, but that doesn't necessarily translate to a very fun level to play. But it's not terrible either, it's just, it has some pretty annoying missions for the orbs, as it were. I mean, the main mission to get the main orb isn't really all that bad, you basically just do a normal pass of the level. But there are 2 missions, one of which is a fetch quest, and the other is a thief chase but you're not chasing the same kind of thieves like in Shady Oasis or in Spyro 1, for that matter. They look different, but they function mostly the same. The problem is the routes they take. The routes they take can be quite annoying, as it were. Ah, well. You can tell that this is happening after the fact, that I actually got 100% on my main file, because now I have the infinite super flame. So that might come in handy, but yeah, when you get 100%, as I'm sure I mentioned, in Dragon Shores you unlock the gate to an infinite super flame power-up. Which means, well, you have infinite super flame, and this applies to all save files of Spyro 2 going forward. So, when I did the speed play, that was obviously the second time I played the PS4 version, and I had to play through it with the Super Flame because I think there's a cheat that you can use to disable it, but at this point, I'm just like, why bother? Because I just want to do this bonus to show it off, you know? To fill in the niches and the holes that were left behind during the main Let's Play, as it were. So, yeah. The reason I omitted Mystic Marsh is because of the Fetch Quest mission and the other mission to a lesser extent. And I feel like this is the longest level in Winter Tundra. It drags out a bit as a result of those two missions. So, I just felt like, for the sake of the pacing, it was better to do Cloud Temples and Metropolis instead. And Metropolis is my favorite level in Spyro 2. So, that was going to happen regardless of anything else. Cloud Temples, in retrospect, really was kind of a last-minute change to the plan for the Spyro 2 Reignited Let's Play, admittedly in retrospect. But what won me over to put Cloud Temples in the Let's Play, the main Let's Play, was the Agent Zero stuff. Because I think Agent Zero is legitimately a hilarious character. And I think his mission is kind of hilarious, too, when you know what you're doing, because it really makes him look, even dopier than he already does, so I think that mission might provide some people a good laugh, you know? But Mystic Marsh and Robotica Farms, I don't feel they're as interesting because they kind of cover similar ground, more so Robotica Farms than Mystic Marsh, similar ground to the other two levels I chose to do in the main Let's Play, as it were. But, you know, sometimes you do have to make difficult decisions like that when you're trying to figure out what is the best balance for everyone, for the person making the content and the people digesting the content too. I think it's very important to try and keep as many different opinions and perspectives in mind, but at the end of the day, the one making the content is the one that's going to be making the judgment call. But I don't think it's very valuable or smart to completely ignore other opinions or perspectives because, well, like a lot of things in life, a lot of things we have probably wouldn't have been made, or at least made to a specific quality, if we didn't have various filters. And by filters, I mean different people's opinions on certain things, you know. And different perspectives can help too, because one person may see things a certain way that they're unable to see any other way. And then you'll have people that might have a different perspective, and they can see things in a different light, and bring something to attention that the other person may have completely ignored for one reason or the other. Mostly might not have even been intentional. So, this is why having multiple perspectives for various reasons is very important. If you're a game developer, an artist, or anything like that, I think it is very important to keep different perspectives in mind. But don't ignore your own perspective, and don't make it the only perspective. It can be kind of tricky to find the right balance, to be sure, but, well, that's what trial and error is for. There's been a long tirade for why I decided not to do these levels in the main Let's Play. Some people would argue that the levels aren't fun, and that could be simple enough of a reason, but I feel like giving that reason would be disingenuous for my audience, you guys. So, I hope you appreciate the effort I put into everything. I try not to put more effort than I have to, but sometimes it just can't be helped. So since we're already over here, we're going to knock out the first of the two annoying missions here in Mystic Marsh.
Ah, Spyro, a friendly face. A bunch of rotten thieves have stolen my spark plugs and I'm stuck here. Please get the 4 plugs back.
So there are 4 thieves, and they have spark plugs, which look strikingly similar to the diodes from Hurricos. And, well, here's one of them right here, actually. But thankfully, with the Super Flame, we could just do that, which is a good thing, because if I didn't have the Super Flame, some of the thief chases can go on for a minute. Alright, so there's going to be one over there. We're just going to hopefully snipe him out. Is he going to do it? I'm spamming fire. Okay, there we go. I thought after a point the Super Flame would just eventually despawn. Alright, there's going to be another one all the way over there. There should be a longer range for the Spitfire Super Flame now in Reignited, but if they wanted to be loyal to the source material and keep the Super Flame range limited, that would be understandable too. Alright, we nailed him. The thieves look kind of like a mixture between a flying squirrel and a fox, but they also have a bandit mask like what you'd associate with a raccoon. Now, but you can't not think about a certain other PlayStation mascot, particularly from the PS2 era, Sly Cooper, whenever you think of a raccoon, I feel. Alright, we're going to nail this last guy with the Super Flame and be done with it.
Woohoo! I'm back in business. Here, young dragon friend, take this. It's museum quality, but you deserve it.
I would argue that this is the less annoying of the 2 missions here in Mystic Marsh. The other one is the fetch quest. So, let me knock that out. Another oddly human character like the mayor from Metro Speedway. I wouldn't be surprised if they turned out to be related, actually.
What? Oh, I must have dozed off there. Well, looks like I let the fountain switch off. Here, take this orb and, don't mention my little nap to Hydra, okay?
So the fountain shut off because someone was asleep at the job, as it were. Which is interesting, you know, that's usually something referenced in media sometimes, but I don't know. Speaking from personal experience, I don't usually fall asleep on the job, or I've never really heard of anybody falling asleep at a job, because jobs are usually pretty involved processes, you know? There are some jobs that are more hands-on than others, but in general, I would think it would be pretty difficult to fall asleep on the job unless, you know, you're overworked, which is probably a whole separate issue that you should look into.
Ah, Spyro, so glad you're here. I'm perfectly useless without my trusty pencil, and I seem to have lost it. I do have this extra egg. Perhaps you can trade it for my pencil.
Alright, so this is a fetch quest. The professor gives you an egg, and you have to trade each item one by one accordingly. While you have an item in your mouth, you can't do the Super Flame, so now we're back to, like, how I would normally do this level, for better or for worse. There are some gems laying around in the river in Mystic Marsh. Don't forget to push down on the left stick, and sparks will point to the nearest treasure. Very useful in instances like this, and sometimes when I did a level in Spyro 1 and Spyro 2 main Let's Plays, I would jump cut, save backtracking time, save viewing time as I was doing backtracking within a level. And sometimes I would wind up collecting a couple gems during the jump cuts. So that is one reason why I keep bringing up the Sparks Treasure Finder. That way, if you're playing along, you can find the gems yourself and should be able to fill in the holes nicely in that regard. I'm not going to do any jump cuts for the trade quest, because if you know what you're doing, you shouldn't have to really backtrack that much. I find that the frustrating part of the fetch quest is partially how long it takes in general, but also because of the logic behind some of these items, and you may not realize right away where you gotta take some things. Like, okay, you take the egg to the bird nest, and then the bird gives you a seed, where you're like, well, where am I gonna plant this? Is it like Zephyr, where I gotta find a hole in the ground? No, you take it to a pot with soil in it. Yeah, just a pretty straight answer for this. But then a giant Venus flytrap monster comes out and gives you what looks like a rubber ducky. Like, you look at it, it just looks like a toy rubber duck, right? By the way, giant plant monsters, this game was originally made in 1999, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a reference to the movie Little Shop of Horrors, you know. But at any rate, yeah, you get a rubber ducky and you think, oh, it goes in the water, okay. But there's a bunch of ducks over here, and they just look like normal ducks, right? This duck looking particularly depressed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the presumably alive rubber ducky in the pond, well, the end of the river, really. The duck is happy, and you get a beet. Or is it a turnip? It's one of those. Either way, you take the turnip, and now we need to go to where one of the thieves were. Well, the general area, anyway. So we take the super jump power-up. By the way, we haven't seen the super jump power-up since Colossus, which is like the second level most people do. And Mystic Marsh is towards the end of Winter Tundra. Well, it could be the first Winter Tundra level you do. But my point still stands that this could be the last level that somebody does, and Colossus could very well be the second or maybe even the third level in Summer Forest. Most likely it will be, for one reason or another. So you put the turnip in the Witch Cauldron, and out pops a coin, which doesn't really make any sense at all, honestly. Wow, there's some bases I missed over here. How convenient that that would work out. So there's one spot that has a bigger gap between the coins than others, and you throw the coin in here, and the fountain produces the pencil. And we can take the pencil to the professor nearby. Yeah, right over here. And thankfully, they do keep in the part where he says, "My pencil!" But it is the same voice actor, Tom Kenny, reprising his role, but the delivery is not as hilarious, but it's still fine.
My pencil! Now I can begin calculating the age of the universe again. Here, take this orb for safekeeping. Laura thinks I'm going to lose it.
Definitely more subdued than how it was in the original Spyro 2, but at least they kept it in. It's a nice reference. So now we have 61 orbs. There's only 3 orbs left, and they're all in Robotica Farms. So now that we've completed Mystic Marsh, you got all the orbs. You don't have to go through the exit portal to do the outro cutscene, so we're going to just jump straight to Robotica Farms. The level portal, just to remind you, is next to the Dragon Shores portal in Winter Tundra. So welcome to Robotica Farms. This is a similar level to Metropolis, where the robots are the NPCs that you'll be dealing with. And, well, let's hear it from the horse's mouth, why not?
Howdy, Spyro. These here pests have infested our farm. Could you find the time to help us get rid of them? Find your way over to the giant bug and turn it off so we can zap any more feed pests.
Alright, so we're basically tasked with exterminating bugs. Yep, that's what we're gonna be doing here, but that's fine. Thankfully, with the infinite super flame, this makes it a lot more of a breeze, let me tell you. So there is a mystery base here, just like in Skelos Badlands, Zephyr, and Shady Oasis. Funnily enough, all of those are Autumn Plains levels. Yet this is the only Winter Tundra level that has a mystery base. But Robotica Farms isn't a terribly large level, so that probably helps a little bit, but it can still be kind of annoying. So before I destroy this beetle-looking enemy over here with the super plane, charge into it and head bash into it. That's how you're normally supposed to defeat those enemies. Which is interesting because I think those are the only enemies in Spyro 2 that actually require the head bash to defeat. Thankfully, it's impossible to go into Robotica Farms without knowing the head bash ahead of time. This is the case for Metropolis as well, since Metropolis and Robotica Farms, the level portals, are within a close proximity of one another. So that's how it is there. And basically, Robotica Farms and Metropolis are companion levels because in one level, well, both of them involve robots as the NPCs. They're both hypothetical levels of what if in the future all humans were replaced with robots? And we have Robotica Farms, which provides the rural side of society, which, yes, does exist and shouldn't be ignored because it plays a very important role in a lot of aspects, you know. And Metropolis represents the urban side of society, so, you know, cities and whatnot. Yes, there are suburbs, which are kind of a middle ground between the two, but that's just that. It's a middle ground, so making a level based on suburbs specifically probably was seen as redundant by Insomniac when they made the original Spyro 2. And these are kind of bonus levels anyway, so yeah. As long as you do everything you can in Autumn Plains and Summer Forest before you come to Winter Tundra, you can just go straight to Ripto and beat the game. You won't get to Dragon Shores unless you do some progress in Winter Tundra, but it is possible to do all of that and just go straight to Ripto. There is a similar situation like that in Spyro Year of the Dragon. Keep that in mind when we move on to that Let's Play. But the thing about Spyro Year of the Dragon is that in order to see everything that game has to offer, you do need to do 100% exactly. In that respect, it's much more like Spyro 1 than Spyro 2, where getting 100% just unlocks a power-up. Granted, it's a very special power-up, to be sure, but still at the end of the day, it's just a power-up, right? Normally, you're supposed to jump and flame these robotic bees, or grab rocks and shoot at them, but the Super Flame basically emulates grabbing a rock and spitting at them pretty well, I might add. So that serves that purpose. We also destroyed a metal container earlier. There's a firework over there normally. You have to take an elevator to get to it. By flaming that rocket, you will destroy that metal container. So don't worry about that too much. And again, don't forget to click down on the left stick and use your Sparks Treasure Finder if you're missing any gems. Shouldn't be too much of a struggle with that in mind. So, yeah, Robotica Farms, interesting stuff to be sure. This and Metropolis, because, you know, all these hypotheticals. For all we know, someday society could be at a point where robots basically do all the work. And maybe even outright replace human beings because they're more efficient at doing work than, you know, us human beings would be, because there's only so much that our bodies can do. You know, it's sad to admit that the human bodies have limitations, but I think it's important to recognize the limitations and try to work with them. Maybe push them a little bit if it's not disadvantageous for you. Because, yeah, you know, trying to reach your full potential or even trying to exceed your potential is nice and is something to be commended for sure. But if you're too ambitious with it, you could wind up doing more harm than good. So I think it's very important to try and find a nice balance with between those two kinds of mindsets, as it were. At any rate, I don't know why that counted as a hit. It's strange, but then again, Reignited Trilogy is kind of strange, but that one could attribute that just to the fact that you're trying to remake a PlayStation 1 game originally for PS4 and then porting it to Nintendo Switch, which is objectively a weaker hardware than PS4. I'm surprised that things aren't weirder, to be honest.
Way to go, Spyro! Them varmints won't be coming near our crops now. Can I offer you a reward?
Ah, Farmer John. I'm sure we all know a Farmer John in our lives, see? Alright, so that's going to be the first of 3 orbs here in Robotica Farms. Strange I haven't seen the mystery base yet. That's usually around here somewhere. Actually, I think I see it. It's over where the supercharge mission is. Alright, we're going to glide on over here. And just knock out the mystery base like that. We'll be tracking that down a little bit later. But earlier you may have seen me snipe out some of these mechanical-looking pumpkins with the super flame. Normally, for this guy over here, what you need to do is use the supercharge and destroy all of the metal pumpkins in the track. Yes, specifically, it's the metal pumpkins that do it. For some reason. Anything else you do in the supercharge path doesn't matter.
A fine piece of steering that work, Dragon. Here, think I found in the cow pen.
Farmer Barleycorn. Man, these are some fun names. I don't remember Barleycorn, though, from the original. I know there's a Farmer Applebee. Yes, his name is Applebee, not unlike the restaurant. So, man, that other mystery base location is right there. Like, so close by. So, I've seen people complain about mystery bases, and I can understand it for, I think, Zephyr, since that forces you to go all the way to the start of the level, and it's a large level. So, yeah, I think the mystery base in Zephyr is pretty dang annoying, to be sure. Before we finish our business with the mystery base, though, let's go over here and do the mission for Farmer Applebee. So, there are these 4 robo-bugs that are kind of like crows. And so, what you gotta do normally is flame them, jump and flame them while they're flying, but if you have the super flame, well, you just do this, and, oh, one more, and we're done.
My fields are safe from those flying vermin, Spyro. Take this doodad I done dug up yesterday.
And that takes care of all of the orbs in Spyro 2. Now, with the main Let's Play and this bonus video. The max number of orbs is 64, which is a weird number to end on. My theory is that Insomniac couldn't find a way to settle on 60 or 70, so they settled for 64 because the competing game console at the time was the Nintendo 64. I can't think of any other reason why they would settle on a final count of 64 for the orbs. That doesn't really make much sense unless it was an intended jab or a reference at the PlayStation's competition at the time. It is worth noting, though, in retrospect, while the Nintendo 64 had some great exclusives, the original PlayStation had a lot of great exclusives too, as well as some really good third-party support. Like Final Fantasy VII, that didn't get released on Nintendo 64. Crash and Spyro, nope, completely exclusive to PS1. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to look back on the history of all that stuff. Where did the base spawn? I thought it spawned down in the gray ground, maybe over here, somewhere, perhaps. Hate to get lost with the mystery bases, so, into proceedings, but, with the windmill blades, if you touch them, they don't damage you, like, they won't drain sparks or anything like that, but they can knock you back, so be very careful when you're doing the platforming with all of the windmill blades and whatnot. Oh yeah, I forgot that sparks can point to the mystery bases himself, but there are also some gems on the track, supercharged track. Oh man, that's kind of a double-edged sword, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, the mystery base was over there in the start the whole time. Alright, a little bit of hilarity for you guys watching that I stumbled around for a little bit. But now you can take the swirly over here, and head back to the supercharged track and mop up the rest of the gems that you couldn't get the first time for one reason or the other. And Super Flame helps, but you need to be close to the gem to collect sparks, so you're just going to have to do things the hard way, sad to say. But we're just going to collect these last few gems and we're going to be done with Spyro 2. Remember, after you get all 10,000 gems and all 64 orbs, head back to Dragon Shores, go to that gate that I showed off towards the end of the main Let's Play, and you will unlock the Infinite Super Flame, which will give you permanent Super Flame in that save file and all new save files for Spyro 2 Reignited that you make going forward. I'm pretty sure it doesn't apply to Spyro 3 Reignited. It shouldn't. But if it does, well, you may have to look up that cheat code I was talking about that supposedly will disable the Infinite Super Flame. Without further ado, this has been the bonus video for Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Next time, we're going to be heading to Spyro Year of the Dragon Reignited. And I think it's going to be a great time. It's going to be longer than Spawn or Tooth. It's going to be probably over 10 parts, even with the length that I usually go for. So, hope you guys sit back and enjoy a very, very meaty Let's Play coming up soon. Ta-ta for now.
Oh! Hey, hey!
Alright, so Spider Town is a lot more green. Let me tell you, it's a lot more green than Crawdad Farm, which probably had a distinctly red and orange kind of color scheme going on, probably. And the interesting thing about the Reignited translations of the Sparks levels is that the lighting system is a little bit different. So you saw me collect a key earlier, but you probably couldn't see the actual key because the key's model, right, is stuck in the shadows, which makes it really hard to see. And I think it was a red key, so that doesn't help because red is usually a dark red for some reason. I think during Crawdad Farm, I didn't really get much of a chance to talk about the different power-ups that Sparks has access to. Mostly because the only ones really worth a dang are the ones that give you health and the ones that give you the spread fire like what I'm using here right now. Yeah, the spread fire is honestly pretty busted. Especially if you do just like that. Look at that. You just spam the button, as in you do a light press and spam it that way instead of holding it down. You're going to get better results more often than not, especially if you're using it on a boss. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it to the boss this time, though, because when I was doing this off-screen in the main playthrough, this is a backup file, by the way. It's usually customary when you're doing Let's Plays, if the game doesn't support copying save data, necessarily, like the Crash games let you copy save data, so that's cool, but Spyro Reignited, for some reason, you can't copy your save data to another slot. The most you can do is delete the data, which, I mean, okay, yeah, I do like to do that after a project has concluded, but it would be nice to be able to copy the save data, that way if something happens, I don't have to redo large chunks of gameplay, which, I guess if it was for any other series, if it wasn't a Spyro game, that probably wouldn't be feasible for me, but because I love Spyro so much, you know, replaying the games I replay Crash and Spyro roughly once a year anyway, so this doesn't really bother me too much. It would still save time, though, not to have to redo large chunks of gameplay. I won't deny that. It definitely saves time. Oh, yeah. But, you know, I mean, it can't be helped. You deal with the cards you're given, you know what I mean? And, I mean, I guess it's better than having only the one save file, like in some other Switch games I've played as of late. Like Paper Mario, the Origami King only has one save file, even though historically all Paper Mario games have had multiple save files. Except maybe Color Slash, I don't know. But, yeah, I'm going on a long rant about save data in modern video games, when I probably should be talking about the Sparks levels, but here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Most everything I've had to say about the Sparks levels in Year of the Dragon, that's why I only wanted to show off one level in the main Let's Play, because everything I can say or offer worth a dang in terms of criticism is already provided in crawdad form. There is one other level. I mean, actually, I would say the next two levels after Spider Town are probably more interesting. The next one in particular, I might have more to say about it. The last one, most likely I'll have a lot to say about it. I'll just have to wait and see when we get there. I mean, this, like I said, this episode is going to be like 90% Sparks levels. It would have been 100% if I decided to do the Bamboo Terrace backtracking in the main Let's Play. But the reason that's not in the main Let's Play is because there aren't any skill points in it, so there isn't really a point to show it on screen, because all it is just collecting a bunch of gems and a single dragon egg. You know? Doesn't mean we can't get something hilarious out of it, though. So we'll see what we can do. We're going to do that right after this, just so it's not 3 straight Sparks levels in a row. Probably would burn you guys out just as much as it would me, so that's most likely what we're going to do there on that front. The different power-ups that Sparks has, though, besides the spread fire, there are these rockets that I have, like right here, that I'm using right now. They're pretty cool. They have a pretty decent explosion radius, as it were. What the hell? Dude, did it just spawn an enemy that was infinitely regenerating and I couldn't kill it? Seriously? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Having done this Let's Play of Spyro Year of the Dragon Reignited, it's definitely a product that could have used a lot more polish. Let me tell you that. But that said, though, all of the improvements that they were able to make in the deadline given, I think makes up for all of these, you know, errors of polish and whatnot. Because yeah, some of these are pretty bad, particularly during closer to the end of the game rather than the start. You know, obviously that's usually how it goes. Usually the last levels of the game aren't as polished as the earlier ones, because the earlier ones are made first and the later ones are made later. So you know, that's usually how it works on that front. But besides the rocket that I was using earlier, Sparks also has access to like a fireball kind of power up, which I think is a little better than the rockets because they like ricochet and stuff, so they can do a little extra damage. This boss right here, the giant spider, it's an annoying boss because it's constantly spinning around the arena. When it's spinning around the arena, it's completely invincible, right? But you have to defeat all of the minions that it spawns in order to be able to damage it. It doesn't become vulnerable until you destroy all of the minions. At the very least, if you destroy the boss, you automatically destroy the minions, so that's cool, at least. Yeah, Sparks is looking about as green as the grass all around him, huh? Right. Before we move on to Bentley's section of Bamboo Terrace, though, I want to mention that when you complete Spider Town and Reignited, you don't get a new ability for Sparks, because in the original Year of the Dragon, you unlocked the handy-dandy Sparks Treasure Finder right here, right? But since that ability was retroactively fitted into Spyro 1, as well as it was already in Spyro 2 from the start, even in the original version, it was kind of a secret in the original because it wasn't something that was mentioned in-game, or I think it might have been mentioned in the manual, but it was kind of a player secret in a way. But in Year of the Dragon, it became Sparks' second ability that you unlocked pretty much halfway into the game. So it was kind of annoying that they backtrack on that in the original trilogy. So the fact that Toys R Bob and Sanzaru Games fixed that is another thing that I think gives this version an edge over the original, despite some of the weird glitches and stuff that have cropped up because of a lack of polish towards the end of development, sadly.
Ah, a fine day for a bit of a walk. I was just heading to the top of my favourite hill.
Hey, I think I saw some Rhinox run up to the top of that hill with an egg.
So welcome to Bentley's section of Bamboo Terrace. This can actually be deceptively difficult, and the reason for that is simply because of collision detection. The Rhinox in the Reignited version of Bamboo Terrace, they seem to have a greater awareness of Bentley. But at the same time, Bentley's Club Strike probably has a slightly better range, so it almost balances it out. But you really have to time your club swings just right in order to defeat the Rhinox before they get a hit in on you. And you only have so many hits. So, basically, to get the Dragon Egg here, you're basically kind of playing King of the Hill. As in, you gotta get to the top of the hill, right? Boulders will be rolling towards you practically the whole climb. There will be points where they aren't rolling for a little while, but then the pattern starts up all over again. Do not try to use the spinning move right here. Don't use that on the boulders. I know you think it might look cool. I agree with you. It would look cool if it worked, but that's the thing. It doesn't work. So, see, I'm gonna try using it on this boulder. It doesn't work for some reason, and it doesn't work on the enemies either. At least not the large Rhinox enemies. But maybe it might work. I don't even think it works on containers. If there's another basket laying around somewhere around here, I think we'll do that. You can bait the Rhinox by going forward a little bit and see if they try to attack you right before you're in their damage vicinity, but it's still pretty risky. But I mean, that's probably better than just moving forward and hoping that they whiff an attack, you know? During the second half of this mission, be careful because sometimes instead of a panda boulder, there'll be a TNT barrel. Matter of fact, I think I just saw one blow up there. Oh, I forgot to try and do the spinning thing to see if that worked. There's another TNT barrel, alright. I am fairly certain that you can't do anything about the TNT barrels. Sadly, if it comes, it looks like you just kind of have to take the hit, I guess. It's weird. Oh! Never mind, you can push them back with the spin attack. Okay. Today I learned, if it's a boulder, you smash it. If it's a TNT barrel, just spin it back. Huh. Wouldn't it be great if that's how it worked in every video game? Oh boy. But yeah, these Rhinox are a lot more difficult in the Reignited version of this mission compared to the original. You see, I'm almost dead. I've had attempts where I died in this mission, so, you know. Good old baby dragon. But yeah, that's the 6th egg for Bamboo Terrace, of course. Let's see if the spin move works on containers. Looks like it does. Makes it a little bit more useful. Alright. Come on. There we go. There we go. And there we go. That's all of the gems and eggs for Bamboo Terrace. This might be a little disjointed for you if you're watching this after the main Let's Play, but the reason I do this stuff is so that a lot of people that watch, you know, they just get the idea of a playthrough, you know. And I mean, I still did all this off screen on the main file, well, most of it. We're actually going to be hopping back on my main file to do the last 2 Sparks levels, and the backup file is now completely caught up, so that's good. Well, let's head back over to the Bartholomew because I promised something in the main Let's Play that I alluded to, and let me tell you something. After I did episode 5, where we first got Bentley, I started thinking back on Bartholomew and how he acted in the PS1 version of Year of the Dragon with the Yeti boxing. Always griping at you to get his ball back, and he'll constantly ask you to do that if you keep losing the Yeti boxing, which probably doesn't happen as often here in Reignited, but in the original, I started to get some repressed memories, and well, I've got some venting to do. So, here's your ball, Bartholomew! And you know what? Have another ball! And another! And another! And another! Don't worry, I'm calm and collected now. I just had to get that out of my system. Yeah. Alright, so back in Evening Lake, we're fixing to do the next Sparks level. This is the one that by completing it, you unlock an extra hit point for Sparks. So this is actually very valuable to do.
Princess Amy showed me a place called Starfish Reef. She said there's an egg hidden in there. I think Sparks should check it out.
Gotta be honest, of all the Sparks levels in Year of the Dragon, I think this one's my favorite. At the very least on an aesthetic level, since it's underwater and you're dealing with all these aquatic enemies. Yes, most of them are starfish. I mean, the level is called Starfish Reef, so I mean, honestly, what were you expecting, you know? Were you expecting Patrick Star from SpongeBob to suddenly show up out of nowhere in a random cameo? Considering all of the Nickelodeon voice actors that especially were prominent in the original Year of the Dragon, I can understand why some people may think like that, but nah, nothing like that, for better or for worse. But yeah, Starfish Reef is pretty... Oh, we got these enemies right here, the giant starfish, that when you kill them, they spawn 3 smaller starfish, and for some reason, the starfish that are spawned from the bigger starfish are really fast. For some odd reason, they are a lot faster than the regular ones. I think they've been nerfed slightly, because they're still fast, but they're not as fast as I remember from the original. Yeah, but Sparks has at least 3 different, actually I think it might be 4 different power-ups. There's the Spread Fire, which is my favorite. There's the Rockets, the Fireballs. Honestly, the Rockets and the Fireballs are pretty similar. And there's also a Landmine type power-up that starts, I think it's only in Starfish Reef for what it's worth. So that's something, and I think I passed it up because, yeah, the Spread Fire is just that good, man. I don't know what else. Look at this. Look at this. This destroyed them like nothing. Alright? But anyways, coming back to my discussion in Spyro Town about save data and whatnot. It's and I think this is pretty good commentary to provide if you're considering getting into Let's Plays when you're worried about if your capture card starts messing up and you get a lot of dead frames, and because of all those dead frames you have to re-record a segment. Oh, believe me, I have been victim of that plenty in the many years that I've been recording gameplay videos for YouTube. And by many years I mean only a little over half a decade, but still, even if it's a Let's Play or just no commentary long play video, it's very good. It's a very good idea to have backups, and sometimes it's even a good idea to have backups for your backups, right? So basically, some games let you copy save data, right? And if you do, you can just copy the save data to multiple save slots, and if anything happens in your session and you need to redo it, you can just reload the previous save, right? This is true of games like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Those give you 3 regular save slots and an autosave slot. Now, autosaving for, you know, Let's Plays or recording gameplay playthroughs and whatnot are kind of a mixed bag if you're recording them and everything, because it is nice. Autosave can be nice, but if something messes up later in the recording and you don't want to, like, restart halfway through, it might be hard to have a backup for the start of the session if the autosave keeps cropping up throughout the session that you're recording gameplay, right? So, you still want to have multiple save slots that you can hard save, you know, without having to autosave. Basically, the game saves when it wants you to, whereas a normal save, you can save whenever you want to, which, more often than not, for recording stuff, is better. It's preferable. In general, I would say autosave is better if you're just playing for yourself, as in you're not recording it or anything like that. Because then, yeah, you know, just keep saving it constantly, and when you come back to it, it should most definitely be up to date and all that stuff, you know? Oh man, I think we're coming up to the boss. Dang, there really aren't that many power-ups in here, are there? Well, I guess we're gonna have to do the boss with, like, no power-ups, except for, like, 5 bullets of the spread shot. Better than nothing, but... Anyways, this boss is a stingray, I believe? Not a big fan of the stingrays because of, well, if you're familiar with Steve Irwin, the Crocodile Hunter, a long time ago now, he was killed by a poisonous stingray, which in retrospect was really odd because of the fact that he is known as the crocodile hunter. While he did dabble with other animals throughout his career, just dying to a stingray just seemed really random. It's still tragic, obviously, that he died at all, but it is really strange looking back on it that the crocodile hunter died because of a stingray, you know? What's also really annoying is that certain pieces of media would go on to make fun of the fact that he died because of a stingray, which I don't think it's a bad thing to make fun of the fact that he got killed by a stingray, but I don't like that people are kind of making fun of the fact he died in general. You know, it's kind of a weird, it's kind of like you're treading on thin ice, I guess you should say. At any rate, we're going to head back to Evening Lake. I'm going to let the Zoe dialogue play out like I would if I was playing the original. And from there, we're going to head back to Midnight Mountain, and we're going to do the last Sparks level. Okay?
When I saw that giant stingray, I thought you were a goner, Sparks. But you sure showed him. And now the magic from the egg has made you even stronger, allowing you to take one more hit for Spyro.
Alright, so back here in Midnight Mountain, it's worth mentioning that this bonus video is being recorded between episodes 8 and 9 of the main Let's Play, so I still have some levels I gotta do. So we're just going to ignore those, head past Haunted Tomb, which we did in episode 8. And we're going to head straight on through, and over here is the Bugbot Factory, which is the last Sparks level. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think in order to unlock a later Sparks level, not only do you have to have defeated the boss of the level, of the homeworld, but I think you also have to clear the previous Sparks level. And if that's not the case, well, then alright then. So, let's go ahead and do Bugbot Factory.
Just before you kicked the sorceress's big, fat, ugly butt, she built a factory to make robotic bugs. They're meant to fight Sparks, but I don't think they're any match for him.
So welcome to Bugbot Factory, which I think is an interesting Sparks level, and honestly, this one almost made it into the main Let's Play because of how interesting it is, but ultimately, I don't think there's going to be enough time for the remaining parts of the Let's Play in order to show off another Sparks level, especially one that's had half of its reward gimped, in retrospect, sadly. So remember these blue crab-like bugs that were in the tutorial, and then you never saw them again? Well, this is where they show up again, all the way in the last Sparks level. Yeah, kind of weird how that turned out, right? But what's interesting about Bugbot Factory is that there are enemies like this that also serve as containers, and also small enemy generators. You know? I think that's really interesting. So, I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say about Bugbot Factory. I think it's interesting because of the different enemy types at play here. Plus, we do have the return of the thief bugs, I guess you could call them, because they're supposed to be the Sparks equivalent of the egg thieves. And yeah, you can use your regular bullets to knock them out for a little bit, but it can be kind of a crapshoot sometimes, whether that works out. And yeah, Sparks can charge like Spyro by holding down the charge buttons. That's pretty cool. Makes things go faster, for sure. Ooh, whoa, oh boy. We also have these green beetle enemies that are kind of like the spiders from Spider Town, but a lot faster, a lot more mobile, I'm telling you. And some of these larger bugs that generate the smaller bugs, some of them are mobile and some of them aren't, so that's very interesting too. And the boss of the Bugbot Factory is kind of interesting, but also kind of rehashes the Stingray fight a little bit, because it'll eventually split up into smaller versions of itself, but still kind of cool. Plus, you know, seeing the return of the thief bugs from the freaking tutorial finally is also pretty interesting. It's a change of pace, to be sure. Only thing is, when you get a key, you're not going to know what electric barrier you get to unlock right away. Also, that thief bug never stood a chance. I'm just gonna say it right now. Oh boy, that bug got a good hit in on me there. All right. Did that unlock the central electric barrier? It looks like it did. All right. Yeah, the small bugs resemble ladybugs. The larger ones, I'm not really sure what they resemble, but I'm just gonna say beetles. The green ones look like beetles, like maybe closer to like a roach potentially, but still beetle-esque. I think roaches are kind of like beetles though, right? I mean, they don't have as hard of a shell, but they do kind of have a shell, sort of. It's not a very strong shell, but it is a shell nonetheless, I guess. Yeah, you just gotta get the keys and unlock the doors, and that's pretty much every Sparks level in Year of the Dragon in a nutshell. You know, get key, progress. Oh, that thief bug didn't stand a chance either. Dang, man. And yeah, you get to see the thief bugs for only the second time in the first real application of them, because in the tutorial they didn't have a key. The one that you dealt with didn't have a key, so yeah, really weird in retrospect. But we're coming up on the boss here. We just gotta knock out. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Calm down. Whoa, just calm down. Dang, man, that could have been pretty bad. And when you get a health butterfly, it heals approximately 2 hits. Wow. The range on those beetle enemies is pretty nasty. Alright, just keep your distance. It's the best thing to do with those enemies. Just try to keep your distance. Easier said than done, I know. That's what you gotta do. Because, yeah, this is the last level, so it's supposed to be challenging. Some people might argue Starfish Reef is more challenging, and I think I can see why. Because of how the starfish, the big ones, the small ones that spawn, can be pretty fast. And they can catch you off guard with just how fast they can get. So it's understandable there. But now we have all 200 gems. All that's left is to take out the boss. And the boss is going to be a giant robotic centipede. Yep. And if you still have your spread shot, it's probably going to do some good damage here. I'm not going to lie. Probably going to do a pretty good dent in this thing, especially when it splits into 2. Kind of reminds me of the fire dragons from Fireworks Factory when it splits into 2, but I don't know if I would say this is easier probably. But if you're not careful, the centipede can shoot homing shots at you. But oh man, if you save your spread fire until now, you can really make mincemeat of it, you know. So that's gonna wrap up the bonus video for you guys, finishing on 123 eggs. So hope you enjoyed this, whether you're watching this after the main Let's Play is concluded or after episode 8, since that's kind of a soft ending, but there's still 2 episodes after that, which covers basically the rest of the game, including the super secret final level, which, funnily enough, I'm going to mention this now in case I don't mention it in the Let's Play. You can get the Platinum Trophy or all of the achievements in Year of the Dragon Reignited without even touching that level, which is interesting, I think. So, hope you guys enjoyed this nice little bonus video whenever this is going up. And, well, after Spyro Year of the Dragon Let's Play-wise, there are no plans for any other Spyro games, but hope you look forward to other content, regardless, Spyro-related or otherwise. Ta-ta for now!